A new week, a new ramble, lots of fans, kind of toasty. Let's do this. Okay, so that first song there is from a CD I actually just got. I was kind of perusing the iTunes there and figuring out what was it that I could use for this little bit extra card that I had left there, and it came up to be I was like, let's go with this. And it was the Falcom Classics. And there's a bunch of different songs on here, and this song's called Karl Cares, and I have no idea what it's from. It sounds familiar, but I can't quite pin the game that it might be from. But the thing is I don't quite like the tune sounds familiar. The title of the song doesn't sound familiar whatsoever, so I don't know if it's from like Brandish or maybe like Ye Old Dragon Slayer. The logo has, actually, this makes sense now because the little icon for it has Xanadu, Dragon Slayer, and Ys, and I'm gonna say it either goes with Xanadu or Dragon Slayer because I sure don't recall it from Ys, but it's pretty awesome. So that's the music we're gonna go with. Excuse me for this week. That out of the way, things have been going pretty good. I'm about 400 pages into writing story stuff, so keeping that moving along. I have been reading a little bit of The Conquest of Gaul by Julius Caesar, and I've sat down like a proper reading section, or reading session, I should say, and was thoroughly enjoying it. It's really easy to read. I mean, in the sense of it certainly has some heavier hitting words, but it's almost like a story. It's kind of cool. That, and I don't know. I'm really liking that. I think that's that. I finished reading a book called Beyond the First Draft: The Art of Fiction by John Casey. I actually really liked it, and I bookmarked and put in highlighter for different phrases and sentences and stuff to kind of call back on when I do finish the first round through of Sudraba, to kind of give me a better perspective and keep things in mind and stuff when I go through and edit it big time. I said something about in the quick little opening there about fans. I have a couple fans going, and they're trying to bring in cool air because it was a bit toasty today, and even though it's past midnight now, it's still kind of hot. I don't know if you probably have, but I don't know if it quite comes across in the videos, but I have some really long hair. At least for me, like, this is the longest it's ever been, because I vowed not to cut my hair or shave my face until I finish the story, or at least the first edit of it. And it's pretty toasty. It feels like I'm wearing a rug, and I don't like it. So I don't know what else has been going on. I haven't really played anything. I'm not like and I think I mentioned in the last week's episode, I'm working on Naruto no Kiseki for a video, but I haven't played it in the last week or so. I just have not I've been focused on writing and also just kind of reading, doing a lot of reading for that book as well as Caesar, but also a lot of quick perusings of the interwebs for different like scientific articles and stuff like that. And it's one of those things you start to go down the rabbit hole, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, it's 3:30 in the morning. Oh crikes. So, and it's that sort of thing. Not I don't actually. It's going to be a song that comes up here, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth when I do come back from one of the bumpers about it. But I was having a little bit of an exchange on Twitter with somebody who pointed out something. But there's a song that comes from this CD, which is why I kind of picked it, and I put it on there, and I was like, this is this is why Falcom rocks, sort of thing. And this person, I wish I could remember their handle. I can't, unfortunately, but I don't often tweet, so it should be easy to dig if you look into my Twitters at Muragaru553, MURAGARU553. But we were kind of talking back and forth, and this person reminded, well, it didn't remind me, but it kind of came up because of how basically about Ryuji Sasai. And that guy, he was the composer for Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and he also did a few other songs, soundtracks. Particularly, I think he did at least one of Zack, which is Zack 3's the one that kind of sticks in my mind. Very violent, but it's XAK for those who want to look it up. But I think he did a soundtrack for that. He also did Mega Man. No. He did Final Fantasy Legends 3. Final Fantasy Legends, not Adventure Legends. Yeah, Final Fantasy Legends 3. If you actually look up the motherfucking Talon theme on YouTube, you'll find it, because it's the motherfucking Talon theme, which is, if my Legends 3 knowledge is, still stuck squarely in my head, that was a vehicle. It was, but I could be totally wrong on that, because I haven't played that thing since I was a kid. But more importantly, he did the soundtrack, and I know this has nothing to do with. I just love Ryuji Sasai, just because Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was a game that I played as a kid. It's going to be on one of those games which fanned my passion videos, sooner or later. But that game was so, like, the music to me was just so awesome. It was what kind of really kept me wanting to play it, sort of thing. And to find out that he did, Legends 3, and when I played that as a kid later on, I didn't realize that it was him. And so it was kind of like, it didn't quite stick to me as well, because Legends 3 is a little bit rougher for a kid. Or at least it was for me. I was just dumber than a box of rocks. But playing that, like Mystic Quest, and getting the music from that, and to find out that he did a whole nother soundtrack. And that's, I mentioned before, Matt, that what is kind of partially what led him into testing and kind of dabbling in the game, which is Rudra no Hiho, or like the Treasure of Rudra, which I've done a video about and stuff. Very interesting game. References and not references, but like what's the word? Inspired would be, kind of taking the idea of the Kala Sutra, cyclical existence. I think actually one of the etymology videos that I did, like Etymology of a Madman or something, I think it was the title of it. I go into a little bit about it, just the Kala Sutra, cyclical existence, repeating, and all this sort of thing. But Matt had gotten interested in it. Partially, I think it might have been because he had found out that Sasai had done the music, but also because of the mantra system is what they call it, where you fill in, you kind of make your own words, and they can turn into magic spells. And throughout the game, you get clues for different prefixes or suffixes to either turn them to all attacks or very strong attacks, or different elemental attacks and stuff like that. And depending on how you word them, or letter them, or phrase them, sort of thing, you can make really powerful spells, but they might cost a lot of MP. But if you can finagle it in such a way, you can make really powerful spells that don't cost a lot. And when I played through it, and RPG Swagpan, who was, I think we were in a Skype call when I was beating it, he can attest to it, because he's got a really, really good memory for this sort of thing. But we were in a call, and I'm playing through the final boss, and it was pretty rough, and it's a long fight. And if you don't have the proper mantras, or at least really, really good ones, you're gonna be in trouble unless you do some heavy grinding. So love the game, love Yuji Sasai, and it was just total tangent on that. But I highly suggest people to kind of give that OST, the Rudra no Hiho OST, a listen. It's really, really good. Like it's kind of cool because it's broken into technically 4 storylines, and I think it's also true for the 4th one, but they had different people write each story. So each story is very different in itself. So I mean, 2 of them are kind of similar in a way, but there's some really different nuances to it, and it takes place over 15 or 16 days towards the end of the cycle of humans, before a great extinction of humans, sort of thing. So fantastic game. If I guess, because there's really no other way unless you know Japanese, is to play a ROM of it, because but that's so we're gonna take a break. And even though I haven't mentioned it, it's in the title. I've been trying to at least bring that up in the title so people can see it and stuff, so they know what the topic is. Because I am a bit of a coy bastard. I'm like, oh, let's wait until the travel of what the secret. You are now invested. So it's really dumb things like that. But the discussion today is going to be I title it "Know Thyself," and you'll get to know me a bit better, or at least I hope. So let's spin some tunes and come back and get to it. Alright, welcome back. That song there was Go Fight, and I love that song. I'm not a big 80s person, but there are certain things like the. Because I don't want to say like. Because I wouldn't quite classify it, but at least the metal. The metal of the 80s, I really, really like, and have kind of really been reacquainted with it and learning more songs that I just never heard and been like, oh, that's really, really cool, and sort of thing. So, but it's just I love the song, and now that I even though in that first part I said, oh yeah, it's just these three. This song is actually from a like I don't know if it's a space game. I've never played it. I think it's called like Star Trader, and I want to say that's like one of the openings or something like that. And I've used the song before to demonstrate that I was able to walk and stand again after I bummed my ankle, but it's just such a. It's not a dorky song, but I make it a very dorky song now that I think about it. But probably other people seeing me will be like, man, that's such a dorky song. So I love Suits. But so what I wanted to get in today is, as I said in the previous section, to know not to know thyself, but know thyself. And I don't know. There's just. If I could work my chair onto the carpet, there we go. But there's just a, and maybe it's because people probably don't know me very well. Is a good way to put that. Because people don't really know me very well, or kind of how I am. I feel like I'm a bit of. Truth be told, I feel like a bit of an outcast when it comes to the circle of community of the YouTube peoples. Rightly or wrongly, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I that's just kind of the feeling that I get about it. I don't attract a lot of attention. I do ramble a bit. I know I'm not the prettiest person to look at. and certainly, like, Johnny has mentioned this to me before, but he said that I am an old man, kind of, when it comes to which I think is kind of funny, is that he kind of pins me as that, even though I don't, and I've talked to him about it before, but I didn't grow up playing a ton of games. Certainly there'll be a lot that I bring up with like the games which fan my passion, but I just didn't have a ton of games. And because of that, there would be plenty of times where I would end up doing something else. Not only that, but because it was single parent household, when mom went to want to do something, kind of had to go with her. So I, would end up going a lot of different places, or I'd be babysat by a bunch of other people who might not have had a lot of games or didn't have any games at all, so we just did other things. So I didn't really play a lot, and he was actually kind of surprised to know that, because it wasn't until college, and this is why I've joked before about Matt being my hookup when it comes to games and stuff, because if I would probably pin it on a very high likelihood, had I not really gotten to know him a lot better and become the friends that we have, I probably would have played a lot of shit. I probably would have gone a completely different route with that hobby of mine. Because, I played a little bit before, because we roomed together the second half of our freshman year. That first half of the freshman year, I had gotten tired. Like, Final Fantasy V made me want to quit playing games. I was just not having it. I really did not like it. I think I had it was the PlayStation version as well, the PS1 version, because my computer at the time was not good for it. But the PlayStation 1 version was, not very good for Chrono Trigger either. And I think I had 4, and I wasn't too big of a fan of that. And what was I was with 5? There was another game with 5. Not quite. Maybe it was 6? And I'm not a big 6 fan either. So it was just it was a dearth of gaming enjoyment outside of DDR. DDR was a big thing, but it was also because I actually kind of like the music. It's all that Eurobeat. That's why I like Initial D's music as well. Night on fire. Anywho, so there's and it's not like I want to like kind of distance or anything like that. I just oh hey, wrong button. Kind of pressed the home button there, but it's just not. It's something I talk a lot about because, well, I think what I'm about to go into might explain me a bit better why. But so what I wanted to talk about is recently I took this personality test, and it wasn't like a BuzzFeed which Simpsons character you are or anything like that, but it was the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which I'm going to read off of Wikipedia so I don't fucking derail things for because it's going to be kind of lengthy. But Wikipedia tells me that, quote-unquote, it is an introspective self-report questionnaire designed to indicate psychological preferences in how people perceive the world and make decisions. The MBTI, which is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, was constructed by Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers. It is based on the typological theory proposed by Carl Jung. I probably said Carl Jung wrong, but I apologize if I did. He was Swiss, I believe. At least he was born in Switzerland. That much I know. And he is a psychiatrist, like a psychotherapist, and his writings, very prolific writer, but his writings that came after his death is just crazy. But he, Freud, Nietzsche, those three are the big three that kind of pushes along the psychological framework that is Xenogears. So just trying to be interesting. But yeah. But so as continuing from the Wikipedia thing here is that theory proposed by Carl Jung, who had speculated that there are 4 principal psychological functions by which humans experience the world: sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking. And I don't know if there's a quick. Of course not quick. Why be quick? Don't rush. Be quick, don't hurry. I think it might be on another page. Anywho, I took this thing, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I was reading over it a lot, and I was actually really surprised. It explained, maybe loosely, in a bit too much of a, for my liking, a little too much hubristic language. It explained kind of my mental framework better than I can explain it to other people. So, and sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to have somebody hold up a mirror to kind of help you understand yourself better, because sometimes sometimes you have to get outside the cake to appreciate the cake, whatever that's supposed to mean. So, so yes, I took this test, and if you want to take this test, I will make sure that you have the link, and certainly tell me what you guys got, because I'm curious to see what kind of different personalities, or at least possible, this thing kind of produces, and whether or not, because there is a bit of rating, and I'm going to truncate some things, but there's a bunch of it, and it's broken down into different sections. So there's like the intro, strengths and weaknesses, emotions, romantic relationships, friendships, parenthood, career paths, workplace habits, conclusion, and then their premium profile, which it's okay, but to learn more about how to strengthen yourself and all this sort of stuff. There's like 9 different sections. So if you have the opportunity to take the test, tell me what kind of type it kind of gives you, and then whether or not with some of the things, you don't have to read everything. Maybe you just want to look at what it says about romantic relationships and see how spot on that is. If you do read through everything and tell me how spot on it is, be my guest. I would appreciate it. I am very curious, because I took this with my siblings, and they're younger, so it's kind of, they're still growing into the people that they're going to be, so it's a little harder to pinpoint that sort of thing. So we're going to get into this. So I am referred to as the INTJ personality, or also referred to as the architect, and because there's also a little thing here that tells you what kind of role, or which is, it determines your goals, interests, or preferred activities, and mine's analysis. And then my strategy, or how I do things, like how I approach everyday situations and achieve my goals, is through confident individualism, which, yeah. So, what is the INTJ? It is that I am introverted, I am intuitive, I am thinking, and I am this one says judgment, but I don't think it's a good way of describing it. Let me click on this thing. So, yeah, it says judging, but I don't think it has a better... Poops everywhere. I don't think this maybe this one... boom, 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 boom. Actually, I know what will. But if there we go. So I have a bunch of links up, and my computer is hating me for this. But so what this all means, or what this is supposed to be telling me, allegedly, is that I'm introverted. So tend to be quiet and reserved. They generally prefer interacting with a few close friends rather than a wide circle of acquaintances, which is, for me, very true. I'm not a big fan. I don't like just knowing people. I want to know people, that sort of thing. And they expend their energy in social situations. Intuition, it means over sensing. So instead of being introverted, or instead of being extroverted, I'm introverted. Instead of just being sensing, I'm intuitive, which means they put it as tend to be more abstract than concrete, which is, for myself, I would agree. Well, let me add to it. It says they focus their attention on the big picture rather than the details, and on future possibilities rather than immediate realities. That's totally how I am. It's not that I don't think about the details, but there's certainly times where details to me are just kind of holding me up and taking my time, where I think it could be better used elsewhere. And yeah, that's kind of how I kind of am. The next part is thinking preferred to feeling. And it's not to say that feeling's bad or anything, but it says that these tend to value objective criteria above personal preference or sentiment. When making decisions, they generally give more weight to logic than to social considerations. And yeah, that's kind of how I am. I at least with myself, I try to be a bit more, I don't want to say even-handed, but try to be a bit more open when it comes to other people's feelings. And yeah, and then the other one here is, the last one here, the J, is judgment. Is auxiliary function. Judgment over, what was the other thing? Judgment over Fuddruckers. Prospecting. prospecting is the other one that's kind of listed here. And that means that they tend to approach life in a structured way, planning and organizing their world to achieve their goals. That's kind of how I am. I like to have a like, particularly like with the game I'm working on. The game I'm working on, I like to have those goals of, let's have the deadline here, let's meet, let's have the pre-alpha done by now, and this sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm going to go into this a little bit, because this will probably explain a bit more, and I'm going to try to like cut out because some of these are kind of really, really, they kind of try to pat you on the back here, it feels like, and like right off the bat it's like, it's lonely at the top, and being one of the rarest and most strategically capable personality types. It almost reads off like one of those what the hell you call it, the zodiac sign sort of thing, and so you just kind of ignore that. You're like, whatever. It's like this personality type forms just 2% of the population, which would make sense, because I don't know of a lot of people that really kind of act the same way that I do. That or I just don't know a lot of people. I am very introverted, so I'm not out there going, hey everybody, what's going on, sort of thing. So let's see here. So it kind of goes into this whole spat of that early in life that this personality type could be called bookworms, but they take that title to heart, and they pride themselves on it, and it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of whatever. And then it gets into this thing which is a bit more like me. It says, a paradox to most observers, this personality type are able to live by glaring contradictions that nonetheless make perfect sense, at least from a purely rational perspective. For example, this personality type simultaneously are the most starry-eyed idealists and the bitterest of cynics. Seemingly impossible conflict. I don't think it's impossible conflict, but there are certainly times where I am very starry-eyed and idealist, and I'm like, oh yeah, but then also a lot of the times going Team Meteor 2016 and this rock for the sake of humanity, sort of thing. But and then it goes into this thing. I tend to believe that with effort, intelligence, and consideration, nothing is impossible. I don't think I'd go that far, but I think it certainly helps. And then while at the same time they believe that people are too lazy, short-sighted, or self-serving to actually achieve those fantastic results. That kind of fits me a bit more. I think that they're... and those who have me as a friend on Facebook may have seen this, may not have. There was some really shitty things that have gone on in the last week, and it's not even just the last week. It's been going on for a very long time. Problem is that for myself, I think that people are too emotional, and when they become emotional, they let that sort of thing guide them. Then this is kind of what wanted me to do this whole thing, is these emotions. Like, I think that, like, emotionally, people will attach themselves, and I've mentioned this before in quotes prior, or quote section prior in previous episodes, that people will cling to whatever seems truest to them, or the most true to them. I think it was a Caesar one that I'm totally, like, paraphrasing so poorly. But because they're working off emotions, it's not logical, and that's not to say that emotions can't be logical. It is that generally they're not, and in doing such a thing, but people are going way off the deep end into just really, really dark areas, because what's that? There's lies, damned lies, and statistics. People are taking statistics and fitting them into what their emotions are telling them, and because those statistics ring true, it becomes this emblazoned righteousness coding their emotions, and because they've become the hero of their own stories, everybody else is the villain who doesn't agree. And unfortunately, that's not I don't know, maybe I'm like way off kilter, maybe I'm too cold and callous about the whole thing, but that's how I'm seeing it. That is how I see that. It's like, yeah. Woo. But let's see here. And then it kind of goes into like, I think I should probably read the other one because I've read this whole thing, and I do actually. Let me go into the strengths and weaknesses. Ooh, if I could say that, strengths and weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses. I have strengths and weaknesses. I can't even say. I'm joking. So this gave a bunch of different strengths and weaknesses, and we'll kind of go into this. Wow, this is already 20 minutes long. Jesus. Okay. First up here, these are the strengths. So the first one is quick, imaginative, and strategic mind. These people pride themselves on their minds, taking every opportunity to improve their knowledge, and this shows in the strength and flexibilities of their strategic thinking. Insatiably curious, and always up for the intellectual challenge. INTJs can see things from many perspectives. INTJs use their creativity and imagination not so much for artistry, but for planning contingencies and courses of action for all possible scenarios. So this is something. There's one part in here that I really, really agree with. Actually, I think there's a couple parts. One that I agree with is that I take a lot of opportunities to try to improve my knowledge. Not to say that I succeed at it, but I do try. You know, there's plenty of times where actually, now that I think about it, I buggered up 2 instances last recording. One was in the quote section with the Lacedaemonians. I think I mentioned those to be the Greeks when it was actually or not the Greeks, but the Spartans, but it's actually all Greeks. So there was another one too, and I don't remember what the other one I buggered up on. And I was thinking, I should really make sure I fix that, and I don't remember what it is. This is what happens when you record at like 2, 3 in the morning. You start to just forget things, and you start to get dumb by the witching hour. By the witching hour, you are, at least I am. I'm a bit dumber, but that's, I guess, what happens when you wake up early. But the other one is that seeing things from many perspectives, and that's, I think, something that I try to always constantly better myself at, is to empathize with somebody's situation, or to. This is why I mentioned before. This is why I like history, is that to kind of get these different perspectives and to see these different sorts of horrors or grand ideas and that sort of thing, and try to see things through a different lens, or just different perspective and that sort of thing. That's why I like to read Aesop's fables, to get the ideas of what these people were thinking of when they for morality and trying to teach good stories. This is why I like reading the old myths and legends from across the world, sort of thing. That's just to try to get a better understanding of the whole, I guess. The only problem is that it's like they don't like to use it so much for artistry, and this is what I like. I like to use it for writing. So, the next one here is high self-confidence, and so this says like trust their rationalism above all else. So when they come to a conclusion, they have no reason to doubt their findings. Yeah, and it's a bit of a strength, but I also would argue that that's a big weakness, because then it becomes a bit hubristic, and I think it mentions it a little later on, is that it kind of becomes a bit arrogant in this mentality of, well, because I've come to this conclusion, there can be no other one. But that's why you're supposed to be open and receptive to that sort of thing. So, it goes on into a very different direction than what I would have anticipated when it opens up with. But it says, like, this creates an honest and direct style of communication that isn't held back by perceived social rules or expectations. Which, I mean, I kind of I get it. And I think, at least with myself, is that maybe me personally, if I know I can trust the person that I'm talking with, I will be. And it's not to say, like, oh, we gotta be gossipy and oh, that trying to, like, stir shit up or anything like that. It's just more if I can trust the other person's opinion or what they're gonna give back to me, if not even, or value, like, then I'll be more open to say things. And I think this kind of helps me be a bit less judgmental to the person that I'm trying to talk to about it, because I'm like, hey, I'm speaking to an inanimate object, which goes out to tens of people, or something like that. But I would kind of say that I would agree with that. I don't give a damn for the social rules nor the expectations within that. And this says, when these people are right, they're right, and no amount of politicking or hand-holding is going to change that fact. Whether it's correcting a person, a process, or themselves, they'd have it no other way. And I do that from time to time, where if something's coming up that I don't like, or if somebody says something that's off, I will say something about it, but I don't waste it on very frivolous things. And I think it was in the introduction as well for it, but it also mentions stuff about, well, if you don't, these types of people don't care for gossip, which is true. I don't care for gossip. I don't care for the drama. I don't care for that sort of thing. It's a waste of damn time. And that is a part of me that I don't, like, for myself personally, I don't give a rat's ass for it. But when I'm reading it in history books and that sort of thing, it's not that I get interested in it. It's not that it's interesting, but it's also, I don't like it for the sake of just being drama. I don't have any other better way to explain it. Or maybe it's because there is a separation from myself that it is a bit less like drama. But like when it comes to like drama shows and stuff like that, probably the one that I've gotten really into is Deadwood lately, and that one's just because it's very morally ambiguous. But and then it goes into this independent and decisive, yeah, and it's like this creativity and logic, and confidence come together to form individuals who stand on their own and take responsibility for their actions. Yeah, I don't know why you would need those three sorts of things, but okay. Authority figures do not impress these types of people, nor do social conventions or traditions. And no matter how popular something is, if they have a better idea, they will stand against anyone they have to in a bid to have it changed. Yeah, that to me is very essentially me. Like, I don't, like, it's not an impress. It's not like any sort of antagonism. It's just not impressed. Whatever. Don't care for that sort of thing. Tradition. Whatever. I can. As an observer, I can be like, but as a participant, not so much. And if I do think that there's a better idea, yeah. Or for example, I'm not, like a lot of games and stuff. And this is probably where Johnny points out that you're kind of a bit of an old man, is that I don't give a rat's ass that a lot of people like, something like Earthbound. That's fine, like it. I just don't think it's a good game. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's, there's certain things about it I do like. The roulette, the health meter. I actually kind of like that. I think it's a really nifty, different way to do something. The insta kills for really weak enemies. Okay, that's a good idea. The humor, no, it's not funny to me. I do not find it funny. Don't find it funny at all. I don't think it's... and this is where it kind of curtails into, well, if you understood what the... And it's just like, that's when I want to wring somebody's neck and be like, no, not about understanding. I get it. I just don't find it funny. And there's plenty of times where I'll be talking with somebody, or somebody will say something where I'll have that moment of, I could say something that's maybe a pun or some kind of snarky remark this way, but I just kind of answer it straight because I just not really my thing. Let's see. And it says here, either an idea is the most rational or it's wrong. And that's kind of how I am, for better or for worse. And they apply this to their arguments as well as their own behavior, staying calm and detached from these sentiments, these sometimes emotionally charged conflicts, and will only be swayed by those who follow suit. Not necessarily. I mean, and I think it mentions it in one thing here, is that I do agree, though, with the idea of if it is not a rational way to go about things, then the argument to me kind of loses a bit of its grounding. And in doing so, you kind of lose me a bit. And it's not to say that I don't value emotion, but you lose me. You can't argue on a stance of emotion. Like, okay, we all have emotions, but if just because it something appeals to an emotion for you one way, doesn't mean it's going to appeal because we're all different people. And I sure as hell don't want to be in a hive mind, because everybody being the same would be very boring. Everybody being like me would be very psychotic. But and another one here is like, it's hardworking and determined, and I think like, if something piques their interest, they can be astonishingly dedicated to the work, putting in long hours and intense effort to see an idea through. Incredibly efficient. If tasks meet the criteria of furthering a goal, they will find a way to consolidate and accomplish those tasks. This drive for efficiency can also lead to sort of elaborate laziness, which I think is very, very truthful. They find ways to bypass seeming redundancies which don't seem to require a great deal of thought. This can be risky, as sometimes double-checking one's work is the standard for a reason. I certainly, as I was younger, double-checking something or editing something really was not something I was interested at all. I was just basically, let's blaze a trail. We'll just go. As I am now, particularly with writing the story, like I'm writing it out, and I write it out by hand. Once I finish it up, I type it up and I do some edits. Not like heavy edits, so I kind of refer to it as a bit of a soft edit. So I soft edit it, and then once I finish up the story, I'm going to let it set for maybe a week or so, because when I first started, it has been about a year, and then go back to it, and then start actually really heavily writing notes and editing and twisting things this way and that. So, and certainly there's going to be times where I'm probably going to be like, oh, this is just fine, this is fine. And I know I need to work at that, so, yeah. And there's certain times where, like, the elaborate laziness, like, I'm certainly reading new things and trying to get new knowledge and that sort of thing, but in a way, it's almost like I'm trying to in a way, it is me being lazy, because that's what I like to do in my free time when I'm being lazy, is read that kind of stuff. I like to read, The Conquest of Gaul when I'm being like really lazy, sort of thing. So, the other one is open-minded, and then they kind of go with this. All this rationalism leads to a very intellectually receptive personality type. Blah, 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 blah. They stay open to new ideas supported by logic, which is kind of an important thing. So, even if sometimes, and especially if they prove INTJ's previous conceptions wrong, when presented with unfamiliar territory such as alternative lifestyles, they tend to apply their receptiveness and independence and aversion to rules and traditions to these new ideas as well, resulting in a fairly liberal social census. This is not I already kind of talked about politics. This is not about that. So that aside, as it says, yeah, I'm open to the ideas, but you've got to be very logical with me about things, because once you start sweeping into the emotional field, like I said before, hi feline, hi kitty, meow meow. Like I've said before, is that you'll lose me. You'll lose me with that. Not in the sense of I don't understand, but in the sense of we all have emotions, and those emotions are going to pull different ways. So just because you felt sad because something happened doesn't mean that I'm feeling, I felt sad in The Good Earth when reading that. At one point when they contemplate selling their fucking daughter because they're all starving to death. Felt really sad during that. But me just telling you that, somebody reading it could be like, yeah, it wasn't really that sad in it. Or maybe they felt sad, but I was in tears over that. So, and then this last strength here, it says it's a jack of all trades, which I really don't think is a strength, but it says it's open-mindedness, determination, independence, and confidence. People who are capable of doing anything they set their minds to. And to that I say, eat the sun. But yeah, so, and then it's like, it could be good at practically anything, from IT architects to political masterminds, blah 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 blah. And then it goes into the weaknesses here. Arrogant. And maybe I come off this way, and if I do, I apologize. I personally don't think I'm arrogant, or at least I certainly try not to be. At this point in life, I'm more of, people have different experiences. There are people who are much smarter than I am, and more things than I may be smarter than other people in. And there's people who are smarter than I am at stuff that I'm smart in. I hope that made sense. But I can see at points, where I might have a tinge of it when certain people may come up, but generally I try to keep that in check, because there's just why? I sleep on a couch. That's all I do. I haven't slept in a bed in like 7 years, so and I think as I've grown older, because I could see this probably, especially coming off that way in like school and stuff like that, but as I've grown older and stuff, people who may not be as smart as I am, but because they have different experiences, there's always something to be taught. I try to keep that to heart. Judgmental. I'm certainly judgmental when it comes to games. Very, but they say here that tend to have complete confidence in their thought process, because rational arguments are always by definition correct, at least in theory. In practice, emotional considerations and history are hugely influential, and a weak point for INTJs is that they brand these factors and those who embrace them as illogical, dismissing them and considering their proponents to be stuck in some baser mode of thought, making it all but impossible to be heard. And I think this is something that I with games and stuff, but not so much with people who play the game, like that Senran Kagura game. I have no fucking desire to play that game, but Nostalgia Dan, he played it and seemingly liked it. Holly from Dong My Lens, she seems to gush over it. That's fine. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, these people are terrible because of it. This kind of jumps into that arrogant bit. There is that's the emotions of it. That's people going off their emotions. I don't, and this is the thing with my scoring, which kind of, I think, makes it a bit more balanced, is that not so much trying to kind of more even-handed when it comes to the emotional side of that sort of thing, compared to being like really crazy, just like robotic. but with history. Like that was the one thing kind of stuck out with me, and that I don't really agree with, is that like history is very important to me, and you need context. That's how you see how the pieces move, and that's why it's kind of weird that it was brought in here. I think it might go in with like traditional stuff, but like social traditions and history, I think maybe because I divorced them from my brain and like the myths and stuff, I don't see those being done right in front of me, so it's kind of a segregation of that. It was kind of just a weird thing to read, because it's like, I think history is really important, sort of, in a way, but in a lot of ways it's not, because there's certain things about ourselves that history is very important, but we don't really take it into consideration in our everyday lives. But and that's the part of history I really don't pay attention to. With Silver Mongoose, and I think I mentioned it before with might even been a whole thing about it, but keeping part of the history thing, keeping like the personal history or the history of a shop with stickers and stuff like that. That to me is not interesting. I don't think it's less of value personally, because maybe for me, I don't value that as much, but I don't think it is worse because of it. So maybe, and it's something that I've had to develop into, because there was a certain point in my life where I've just been like that, whatever. So maybe it's a bit more true for my younger self, but maybe not so much at my current self. But this next part here is overly analytical. The painfully short where logic doesn't rule, such as human relationships. Yeah, my mom can attest to this. For example, I'm spoiler alert, so if you're, and I apologize if, okay, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to give myself 1 minute. So in 1 minute, skip ahead, and I will not talk about this, but this is about Life is Strange. So if you have any desire to play it, skip now. But at the end of the game, there's this decision you have to make where you either have to kill your best friend to save the city, or save the city or kill your friend to save the city, or let the city be destroyed and afraid and saved. To me, that is an incredibly easy decision to make, but for a lot of people, including my mother, it was like, this is a horribly difficult decision to make, because or they would side the other way. They would save the friend. And I'm like, no, you cannot save me, because my personal relationship with you does not weigh nearly as much as the personal relationships of the whole city, sort of thing. So, yeah. So I think I kind of got that in there. But, so that's with the human relationships. So, with seconds to spare. But I do tend to put some distance between friends and whatnot. But whatever. The next part here is loathe highly structured environments. So yeah, I really, this is not my cup of tea. So, and it's not to say like rules are meant to be broken or anything like that, but like things that make it really, really, really mundane. Like for example, it says here that blindly following precedents and rules without understanding is distasteful. I would say that's kind of more and so forth. They disdain even more authority figures who blindly uphold those laws and rules without understanding their intent. And I would agree with that. When people do things that have really bad repercussions, but they don't seem to, I guess, acknowledge those sorts of repercussions, it incenses me. Not like to some sort of crazy psycho rage or anything, but it does bother me. Anyone who prefers the status quo for its own sake, or who values stability and safety over self-determination, is likely to clash with this personality type, which I agree with. That when you start telling me it is for the safety of something, I have to disagree. I mean, there are certain things you would like to have safe, like don't put lead in applesauce. That would be kind of nice, sort of thing. But in the same hand, this will come up in writings of mine, if you have interest in, where there's different kind of back and forths about this, but I am one of those people that believes that how to put this, and it's going to come off as cold and callous, and I apologize. And it's not like I don't try to help those who are of less able-bodied or whatever gymnastic wording you want to go with, but I think with something like self-determination, that to push beyond, you have to go outside of the rubber band. Like for example, like a rubber band stretching. Like if you just kind of keep it as it is, certainly it can kind of push beyond itself, but you're always confined to what the rubber band can do. But if you constantly push beyond, or stretch it out and stuff, eventually it's going to break, and certainly that could cause chaos. But in the same hand, chaos can allow for greatness to rise. Greatness, whether it's dark or light, or that sort of thing, that can be determined, but in chaos, greatness arises. And to just kind of, to me, like, just stability or safety stagnates, and or status quo stuff, it stagnates, and I hate that so much. It's just, ugh. And then the last one here is clueless in romance, and I agree with this. Because of being so, and I don't try to mean this in like, oh, I'm so right, in being the trying to be as logical as I can be, I am not very emotional. When somebody has some problem or something like that, I am not one to reach out for when it comes to just wanting a shoulder to cry on. And then that kind of leads to a bit more of a solitary lifestyle, and it happens. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. I don't, I just don't, I don't know, I just, I mean, feelings are great for, when you're off doing something, just kind of like for fun, going traveling, spending time with people. But I'm also very, very much driven to kind of be constantly working on things and that sort of thing. So, I'm going to end it there, because I've blabbed on about this for like an hour, well, not an hour, but about 50 minutes looking at this, and there's a bunch of other sections that I could go into. It basically points out that this personality type is very, very emotionless. Well, no, I shouldn't say emotionless, but because don't really go with the emotional aspect of things, or see a value as much in the emotions, tend to be a bit more, when they do happen, they're a bit more raw. The emotions come off as a bit more raw, and so, and I agree with that. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know, it was just something different. Maybe you guys can get at least a little bit of a light shined on me, to kind of get to know me a little bit differently and stuff like that. So I'll make sure there's links to take the test, and you guys can tell me what kind of personalities come out. I almost have a feeling that Kid Koala is the same personality. I could totally be off on that, but I have a sneaking suspicion that he has a similar personality. So, yeah, prove me wrong, or prove me right. So, I'm going to take a break, and take a break, and then we'll get into the comments section. So, let's do it. Welcome back. I'm recording this at a different time, but I still get the fans going. It's been pretty toasty lately, and I have no AC. So, apologize for the hum in the background. So, that song there was called Star Trader, and I think I mentioned in the previous section that the Go Fight song came from that. Well, the same game. Star Trader is a game. I had to double check because I'm recording this a little bit different time, of course, and stuff like that. And it's a shoot 'em up game. So it honestly looks like it's on like the PC-88 and the X68,000 as well as that's all I see it on. But it looks like a Darius or Darius, or like a Gradius kind of game, so that's pretty cool, actually. But yeah, so that's that. The comments section here, I don't know if it's just, I think it's just the two. I hope it's the two. And this first one here is coming from the historical episodes, Rambling Weekly 14th. I don't think I've responded to him quite yet because I wanted to I guess kind of talk these out and then kind of give a response and stuff like that. So apologies I didn't get right back to him, but yes. So I may have put one elsewhere. Maybe it is on the next one. But Kid Koala responded to the historical importance Rambling Weekly 14th episode with, "History is very important. It helps us learn from our ancestors' past mistakes, even though it seems like we repeat them more than we should. If we can at least take one step forward, we'll always be making progress. That, my friend, is something that would not be possible without the knowledge of the past." And I am with you on that. I'm actually, to me, that's, there is always, even if there's a bunch of other steps that have to happen that force you to go back, is if there's a way for you to step forward, at least in some sort of way, it is some sort of progress. I mean, I know it's not quite what you're saying there. I think more of, even if it is the tiniest of steps, well, at least we're moving forward. But you do fall into a bit of a devil's advocate of, is the progress that is being made proper progress, or is it just progress because of the momentum previous progresses have pushed things to go that route. Kind of like studying with science. Look at the Renaissance. A lot of the energies of certain, take what the hell is his name? Sir Isaac Newton, dude, believed in alchemy, was practicing alchemy, trying to turn lead into gold. That was, and you wonder if he had not had that sort of idiosyncratic quirk about him, that you wonder if he would have made even more different types of mathematics and that sort of thing. And think of all the other scientists that kind of went that route, or people who went that route that could have been using that energy for something else entirely. And so it's like a failed branch of science. Yes, you learn from it, but yeah, wonder at what kind of costs, right? So, but no, I totally feel that history is important as well, but I feel that it can really be dependent on who's doing what. So, yeah. So thank you, Kid Koala, for the comment. Appreciate it, and let's check out the Rambling Weekly 15th. And so this was from last week. Oh, this one was a doozy one too. I might have two back-to-back or nearly 2-hour episodes. I apologize for that. So much for sticking to an hour, Daily. Yeah. Actually, I think BK McGlynn might have said something that I didn't respond to. I'll check it out. Okay, so this one as well from Rambling Weekly 15th, Mightily Meandering number 9, is by Kid Koala, and he put Mighty Number to Laid is an alright game if you can get over the slowdown and frame rate drop. I played through it on the Wii U and only had it hard freeze on me 2 times. I'm not gonna lie and say it's the worst game I'd ever play, but I will say it most definitely is not for me, which is really unfortunate because I know how much you like to curb stomp the old Blue Bomber games, and so I guess because it's not quite because truth be told, I'm not a big Mega Man X fan. I can play through X, but it does not give me the same sort of fun and enjoyment that I get out of the old Blue Bomber games. Don't know why. Music's fun. I like the music and stuff. For some reason, it is not the same to me, even though it plays very similarly. Even though Ego Raptor made some really the sequelitis thing about making some really good points on that. Even though making this kind of point, there's something. There's always that innate quality that kind of speaks to itself, or there's something about a person who plays it at a certain time that appeals to it a bit more, and that sort of thing. And for some reason, X doesn't do it for me. Now, mind you, I've really only played X and X2. I would like to play X3, but so now I wonder if that's the same for you there, Kid. Well, I wonder if you're not a bigger fan of X games, or you like those as much as the Blue Bomber ones. So and then he put, also, if you do ever decide to get it, don't buy it for the Wii U. Yeah, I've heard that it was bricking some of them. Mind you, I haven't really heard much else about it now, because it seems like outside of Alpha Mega Sin not getting his copy, I don't know if he did finally get it, but outside of him not getting his copy, most people have either just kind of played it and then are done with it, or just kind of, and along the first few times it was people saying, hey, this bricked my system to fuck, that sort of thing. So, which would really suck if that's the case. I've been told it's the worst version of the game to get. Now, that also, actually, now that I think about it, Holly, Dog of My Lens, she showed a picture of none of the lettering was even on the disc or something. Like, it would not show any of it. It was just blank. So it's almost like a write your own adventure thing there. So too bad I didn't know that when I decided to pick up the game. That is unfortunate. So that certainly now I'm looking at my little thing here. Gosh darn it, I forgot to put up. Okay, sorry, sidetrack. But that is really unfortunate, because I'm guessing that you got that for the Wii U as well, with that really interesting frowny face. But yeah, that is a bit of a bummer. Like I said before, I was interested in the idea of it, and I was happy that it was happening, but the way that it just all tumbled downhill from there, like, I don't know. I would like to play it sometime, but right now it's just not the time. My brother's asking me for my like, what kind of stuff should I get you for your birthday? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like I have no clue. So yeah, we're gonna take a quick peek to see if possibly there were some other comments that I should have just looked here. Oh no, I did answer the BK McGlynn one. Yes, okay. I was worried I didn't from them, and I think that is it. I think I stink. I know. Yeah. So that's it for the comments. The short one. So that kind of balances out the huge bit of rambling on that the previous section. So I'm going to take a bit of a break here and then come back and do the quote. So wait. All right. So let's get to that. Okay, welcome back. That there was Silent Tower, and that is from the Legend of Xanadu. At least as far as I know. It could be a different Xanadu one, but as far as I know, it's Legend of Xanadu. So, yeah, which probably is just kind of easy to say Xanadu, maybe. Yeah, it's probably wrong knowing me, because I'm a fool. But, oh, goodness. Okay, so the quote for the day. Short, sweet, simple, and it is a quote within a quote. So, from the John Casey Beyond the First Draft, The Art of Fiction, he talks about a bunch of different things. And early on, he goes over these different, like, the dogma for writing sort of thing. And one of them, and he breaks them out, he has a few different ones, and one of them is tell the truth. And this is from Konstantin Stanislavski, and this John Casey uses a quote from it from one of his works called "An Actor Prepares." And the quote that I'm highlighting here and talking about is, "Cliches are large, vague, inert, and therefore terminal." That's it. And that is, and it's a bit more of a paraphrasing against cliches, and and that's something I agree with. It's cliches don't go. Cliches are an easy way to kind of quickly mentally establish for somebody what something may be, but the moment you kind of go away from it, it's not a cliche any longer. But I think that's part of my problem with like tropes and stuff like that, is particularly with things like anime, is that is very heavy in there, as part of probably what my problem with a lot of more modern Japanese RPGs is that you have 30 plus years of these similar characters being thrown through and just regurgitated and just kind of maybe tweaked one little way this way, but usually they're kind of kept the same, and it kind of just repeat, and it is very inert. You're not learning anything really much from it. I mean, yeah, you totally could if the possibility or the situations are a bit different, but if you know the character, then unless they completely go against what their cliche is, you're just gonna have crazy. But and that's part of my problem with actually, it's a big part of my problem with that sort of thing, is that it's just very, and it's not just simply those two things, it's a lot of other things. I see very similar things kind of regurgitated, and it doesn't really catch my fancy. So yeah, that's that. So cliches, they're terrible. Blah. The last thing here, of course, is the outro song. I wanted to be talk a little bit more about this than I probably usually would, because this song is, as far as I know, it's like one of, if not the first instance of a band making music to promote a video game. And this is for those who are into heavy metal and the stuff of the 80s, one of the very prominent bands for Japan was Anthem. And the lead singer, I know his last name is Sakamoto, it's like like Ezio, could be wrong, but Sakamoto, the lead singer, he actually, and I didn't know this, somebody brought it to my attention, the same person I was talking about earlier and stuff with Twitter back and forth. The Sakamoto went on to make Animetal, and for a bunch of years making heavy metal versions of anime themes and stuff like that. I still got to check it out, but there's a bunch of different albums and stuff, and he recommended like 4 to 7. So I'm curious to see how that is. But Anthem did two-part, like Act 1 and Act 2 song. It was like their first EP release was the song Xanadu. and that is the Johan Falcom game, and it's just a really, really cool kind of thing, because it's hearing a lot of the like music up until like even the music in Naruto no Kiseki being very, very metal, and how that had kept up for nearly 30 years. It's really fallen off the wagon a bit, I think, with Senma Kiseki or Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2. I mean, I don't like the music as much. It just does not appeal to me as much. It is not the type of music I like. There's certainly some really, really good songs and stuff, but it doesn't quite have some of the hardness of or it's hard in a different way, I guess. It doesn't have the I guess I should say the metal of that sort of thing. But Xanadu, and this is Act 1. There's Act 2 you can find on the on YouTube. So I highly suggest when you listen to this that you listen to the next one. Or listen to Act 2 and tell me which one you like more. Because personally, I think I might like Act 1 a little bit more, but Act 2's got this whoa, 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 and like that little part is like really, and then there's like somebody else who jumps in and it's like, it's really cool. But I don't know. I like them both, and it's a mixture of English and Japanese. So, I'll there's probably a place I can find the lyrics. So I'll try to put writing this down now. Lyrics to Xanadu. I don't know if it'll have the English translations for or not, but I'll see what I can find. So. That is it. Enjoy the song. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy your evening, day, and night. Apologize this took an extra day to get out. I've just been a bit swamped, and I'll try to be a bit better about it, particularly this week. It should hopefully be. So, that's it. Thanks for listening, and let's do it again. But not this week. Let's do it next week.